Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you are having an enjoyable day. Today we wanted to talk about the differences that we don't share, in common. You know, years ago, I was dating a guy and I introduced his best friend to someone who was close to me. Now, the person thought that because the other person and I shared so much in common because we grew up together, that we were the same. No one is identical. No one is the same. One hand is not the same to the next hand. They can be similar, but they will never be exactly the same. Now, when the person dated this other person who I introduced him to, let's just call it hooking up. I hooked them up together. The person had a great deal of grief, and later on, I was held accountable for those things. The person got very upset and they approached me and they said, "Why didn't you tell me this about that person?" Let's just make it very clear. You can have siblings that grew up in the same household and they could be very different. I was always different from my other siblings, and they could say that they were very different from me. I remember my oldest brother making a comment years ago. He said, "You know, your father's side of family are like the Addams family. They're all different and they're weird." And that was the first time I ever heard anybody call anybody outside of me weird. I thought that was really funny that he would even make such a comment. But he said, "Yeah, it's like the Addams family. You notice the Addams family had that blonde-haired girl? It's like you the blonde-haired girl and the rest of them are the Addams family." And he made a laugh and a joke out of that. And I really thought about that. And I was thinking, the people who might be the detectives on a case might really look at that. They might look at how different one person is from the rest of them and really draw a conclusion based upon that. Is that girl from that family? Was she born into that family? Or perhaps it's like a collage. You create a picture and you put that one thing, that one dynamic in the middle of the picture. Will anyone be able to see the difference? Will they be able to decipher a clue from that one person being different from the rest of them? Growing up, my stepmother used to always say, "Poor little rich girl." And she used to say that to me. She said that a lot of times. When you start looking at certain things that did not stand out before, but now they seem to stand out, and you start doing your research, you might realize that there's some truth to all of those different things, those other elements or facts, to draw the bigger conclusion in the end. You see, my oldest brother used to say years ago, he said, "You know, they found you and they brought you into this family. You didn't know?" Again, certain clues. If you look into a person's background, you look at their passport and you look at their birth certificate. Back in the day, again, people were able to get Social Security cards for their dogs, and they could play and say that that was a child in their household when it really wasn't. So when we start drawing conclusions, we start looking at facts, and you really start honing in and looking at everyone who fits into this puzzle, you realize that perhaps two people do not fit into this puzzle. And then you draw your conclusions and figure out what is the actual truth.